was just watching a video where a royal expert was being interviewed, and she was talking about Prince Harry. And she was saying that Prince Harry is in a very negative state at the moment, allegedly, and that he's stuck in the past. And also, there was speculation that Meghan is going to walk away soon. And there's this idea that Meghan is starting to move forward with these things, and Prince Harry's really, stuck in this place of resentment or blame, maybe because of his relationship with the royal family. So we're going to be looking at Prince Harry's chart just to get an idea of what kind of karma and what consciousness state Prince Harry's in at the moment. Specifically, when somebody is going through a divorce or there's going to be a sudden departure, there are planetary periods we can look at that increase that likelihood of that happening. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. For those of you that are new to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get all of my readings. I do royal family readings, celebrity readings, we do monthly predictions, and then I do even videos where I teach important topics. This is Vedic sidereal astrology, not Western tropical astrology. I always get comments in most of my videos saying that, somebody's a different sign. Remember, this is Vedic sidereal astrology. Also, if you're interested in a personal private reading, check for details down below. I'm running a discount for the month of July, 40% off, codename Thor at checkout. So make sure you check that out if you're interested in learning about your karma. And, it's really helpful in really helping your path in life, because you kind of know where the winds are blowing at various points in time. So let's go ahead and pull up Prince Harry's chart right here. By the way, quick disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. I am merely speculating as to the energies in Prince Harry's astrological chart, and these are all allegedlys. Okay, so what I like to do, if you're new to astrology, with Vedic astrology in particular, there's this thing called the Vimshatari Dasha system. And essentially, in different periods of your life, a certain planets are highlighted and the karma is really emphasized. So even though your overall chart is generally active in your life, and this is Prince Harry's chart, his chart is overall active, but during specific periods, like the present moment, there's certain planets that are active. So right now, in this present moment, as of July 3rd, 2023, when I make this video, Rahu's active because Prince Harry's in a Rahu Mahadasha, and Moon is active. Okay, so there's a lot of information we can get out of that. Now, he's in the Rahu Mahadasha all the way until March of 2025. So he's kind of at the end of Rahu Mahadasha. That's interesting. And then he's at the end of Moon Mahadasha. And let me clean this up. Or sorry, Moon Bhukti in July 11th of 2024. So less than a year, he's going to be going into the Mars Bhukti. So if you're new to Vedic astrology, real quick, I'll explain to you. There's the Mahadashas, which are larger periods. So for example, Prince Harry's in the Rahu, and then there's sub periods within the Mahadasha. So when we talk about Bhuktis, for example, he's in a Moon Bhukti right now, Moon, and then he's going to be in Mars next. Okay, so these are the sub periods, but the sub periods become more focused than the overall period. Okay, so the energy is more acute with the Bhuktis. Oops, let me put the chart back up. I just meant to clean it up. Okay, so let's talk about Rahu first of all. In Prince Harry's chart, and I've talked about this in some of my other videos, Rahu is in the 6th house, and this is the house of conflict. And I mean, it doesn't take an astrologer to tell you that Prince Harry's been, involved in a lot of conflict. Okay, ever since he especially married Meghan Markle, it seems like it's been exacerbated to the 10th degree. But he's in this conflict. Likely, with Rahu being in the 6th house, there's a lot of even conflict within the marriage union itself. I mean, I'm speculating on that, but likely there's this environment of conflict. Okay, and 6th house can even represent things like resentment. So this idea of the royal expert saying that he's in a negative state, that he's thinking about the past, yes, resentful. 6th house is like when we're thinking about like how people have wronged us in the past, how we've been wronged. And you know what? I don't want to pick on Prince Harry because all of us have had moments like this where we feel like something has wronged us in the past. I mean, who hasn't experienced that? So also with Rahu being in the sixth house, I do want to point out that a lot of times the karma with this particular placement is that they are going to experience a divorce within their lifetimes, because the sixth house is like disharmony. It's a lack or loss of agreement. So there's like something doesn't work out. But the soul, because this is, essentially the north node of the moon, that's what Rahu is. The soul wants to experience this conflict or this lack of agreement. Okay. And sometimes we can't reach an agreement. I mean, sometimes you're in a situation that's toxic and there really is no compromising at some point. It's just kind of like you have to, break it off. The other thing we want to talk about, remember I said he's in the moon bhukti. Now, sixth house, by the way, before we go to moon, one more thing I wanted to point out about Rahu Mahadasha. The sixth house, when it's activated, this can represent divorce, but this can represent a divorce that's like argumentative, that people are disagreeing, and it becomes like a court battle type situation. If you've ever seen like those like nasty divorces where people get very like angry at each other, they're getting attorneys, and there's definitely difficulty there. The difficulty I see with this, if I compare Prince Harry's chart to Meghan's chart, I feel like Meghan's in a better position karmically if they do get divorced. I feel like Prince Harry at this moment it would be holding the bag. Okay. Whatever the bag is, emotional, it could be emotional, mental, just like feeling like left in the cold. That's what I'm thinking. So, I mean, because she's in this Venus Bhukti right now in the second house, which even suggests that she could meet a new romantic partner. So, if you're interested in watching that video, make sure you check out my previous video. Okay, let's talk about the Rahu Bhukti. The Rahu Bhukti is interesting because it's the eighth lord. Okay, so even though it's in the fifth house, we want to look at the lordships when we're looking at Vedic astrology. And the eighth house is all about sudden things. This is like a recipe, this is a recipe for disaster in so many ways. Okay, because we got the sixth house activated and the eighth house is activated. The eighth house, let me tell you, it is like the house of like you are shocked. Like for example, like let's pretend you came home and your spouse had all their stuff like all their clothes taken out and they're gone. That's the kind of shock that the eighth house represents. Sudden, shocking, emotionally devastating. This is like a really intense period. And let's not forget that this emotionally intense period transiting Rahu, and see, I'm not talking about natal Rahu, transiting Rahu is going over the natal moon in the chart. So Rahu's a malefic planet. Rahu's trying to get us to expand our boundaries. And with Prince Harry, it's trying to get Prince Harry to expand his boundaries in with things like conflict, learning about conflict. And, he might be trying to exercise this conflict with the wrong people. So he's trying to like he's following this narrative, and maybe Meghan told him this. He's thinking that the royal family are the people that he wants to associate the conflict with. But at the end of the day, it could be Meghan is the one where Prince Harry is left holding this bag of all this emotional uh, garbage, so to speak. So all this emotional trauma and things, and having him pitted against his family. So this is a very difficult situation. Now, remember, we're just speculating, and I'm just saying if that I could confirm that, this is possible with the energies. We always have free will at play when we're looking at charts, but the energies are suggesting there could be a sudden departure. The eighth house is usually, in my opinion, it's usually when someone else leaves you and you're in a state of shock. So that's what's the difficulty there. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out about this moon bhukti is when you look at a Mahadasha and a bhukti, you also want to look at the angle between the Mahadasha lord and the bhukti lord. So the angle between these two planets is moon is 12 houses from Rahu. Okay, so that's another indicator of the planetary period. Okay, so when we're looking at a 12th from angle, literally like every Dashtana house, the sixth house, the eighth house, the 12th house are pretty much all being activated. There's a lot of confluence here showing some sort of emotionally difficult event. Okay. So if we count 12 houses from Rahu, we also get this idea of the 12th house, and that has to do with losses. But more I see this with emotional losses, a feeling of isolation, a feeling of being alone. I mean, if we put ourselves in Prince Harry's shoes for a moment, if this relationship doesn't work out with Meghan, and essentially if Meghan leaves him and then he has this relationship that's been completely, I mean, pretty much obliterated with the royal family. I mean, where does he start to try to rebuild that in that case? So then he's just left in this like terrible void. And I'm very concerned about Prince Harry. And I actually would pray for Prince Harry because I feel like Prince Harry's could be in such a difficult place. And to think that, especially the British people, he was one of the most beloved royals. And now he's going to be literally left alone with all this emotional baggage left behind. So this is very difficult. The other thing I want to point out with all of this is the next Bukti that Prince Harry is going to be in. And of course, I'm going to do more videos on this, especially when the time approaches. But remember, I told you he's in the Moon Bukti at the moment, but in March 11th of 2024, he's in this Mars period. Okay. And Mars, well, it rules the fifth house, it rules the 12th house. And check this out, it's with K2. And K2 is known for just like cutting off relationships, cutting off things, and causing difficulty. So the thing I notice is that, and this is what typically happens, he's going to be entering his Jupiter Mahadasha in March of 2025. Usually, when you're in a Rahu Mahadasha, a lot of times, if someone does get married during the Rahu Mahadasha, in some cases, if the alliance doesn't have enough common goals, a lot of times the marriage will dissolve by the end of the Rahu period. So when we're talking about the end of Rahu Mahadasha, there's a very strong likelihood that there could be difficulty if the relationship is already showing signs that Meghan's going to walk away. And one of the core reasons is there's a lack of common goals. So there's been people speculating um, that Meghan has been, this is speculating, but that Meghan was disappointed that Prince Harry didn't have, as much financial assets and things that she thought he did just by being connected to the royal family, that she might have not known how this whole thing worked, that essentially he was just, having the patronage of the royal family, but it wasn't like he was holding all these assets. At least that's what I'm aware of how it works. So she was hoping that it would bring a lot more abundance and assets into the joint marital estate. And it looks like there's some disappointment there. Also, with all these deals, the problem is that they're kind of, they went on this whole thing that they're rebelling against the royal family. And now the shock and awe of that situation after a couple of years, it's kind of old news. So a lot of these sponsorships are starting to drop, a lot of these contracts. So, when you think about it, where's the future? How are they going to make deals? And so it does look like the financial situation could be drying up in the future. There could be some difficulty. And especially when I see Prince Harry being in this K2 period, I actually see there could be some financial difficulty there. Okay. Financial difficulty, by the way, this could be like, this period right here. I mean, right now we could see a separation. We could see Meghan walk away during this moon period. But let me tell you about this one. This period right here, when he enters the Mars period, this could be the period where there's actually a divorce finalized because K2 is activated. K2 is notorious for divorce. Okay. I have personal experience with that. I actually got divorced during a K2 Mahadasha when I was in it. I know I'm giving you some information about myself. Okay. Now, but let's talk about this because 12th house represents foreign countries. It represents losses. So this is like being abandoned in a foreign country with all these financial losses. Okay. This is like, and this is why I feel like when he enters that Jupiter period, I feel like he's coming back home. I don't feel like he's going to stay in the USA. And I wouldn't blame him because I do think things are going to get worse in the USA, by the way. That's just kind of a little extra information. If you watch my other videos, the USA is in Saudi Sati. It's not in a good period. So it might actually be a good thing for him to go back to the UK. But I do feel like he's going to have a better experience moving back home. His chart really is stronger for being at home. So, and being more appreciated at home, even though I do feel like a lot of people are angry at Prince Harry. At the end of the day, I want to say, I feel like in a couple years, when this whole thing, when the quote unquote metaphorical smoke clears, I do feel like the people, the royal family, I feel like people are going to accept Prince Harry back with open arms. I really do think so. I think even the royal family will. I think that he's going to be accepted back. And there might be some period of repentance, or a period of saying, apologizing, but I do feel like everything is going to be on a better note. The one thing I see difficulty is going to be his relationship with his brother Prince William. That will actually probably be more difficult than his relationship with his father, King Charles. So thank you so much for watching. We will do more videos on the royal family, of course, because there's constant drama going on with that. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.